Welcome to Center of Light tonight. Always about being clear of mind so that the light of everything can push through you unencumbered. So tonight is Center of Light stuff, mind stuff. Either last night I was really clear of mind or I was deep into the mind. I think it was both. I think I was very conscious of an unconscious realm. I was in the mind stuff. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. Welcome to Center of Light. Tonight, gonna delve into the mind, the actual mechanics, the monkey in there. Wants his banana. Not just get out of your mind, kill your mind. You can't kill your mind. You don't want to kill your mind. But get out of the mind, be quiet. That's all cool stuff. Vital stuff. But until you know how to drive the car, you ain't going anywhere. You can start the engine, you can put your seatbelt on, you might drive it or attempt to. Hello telephone pole, hello tree. Well, we're going to try to navigate around the obstacles of life. Tonight is Center of Light stuff, mind stuff. Dimension of the mind. Everyone, Keith Nathan Blanchard, good to see you. Lavender Soul selling these discs, all 3 albums for $20. We used to sell them $20 per. We have thousands. $25 to your door. $5 shipping. Also, Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, my new bestseller. As of August 1st, number 6 in the UK. I'm excited. Things are still happening surrounding this. If you have not purchased this bestseller yet, now would be a fantastic time. It's cold outside, y'all. You ain't got nothing to do but read. You can use the same, if you read this book, you can use the same hyperlink that is in these forums to leave me a review on Amazon, same page, and leave me some stars. Eden Sky Wonders Why, my children's book series modeled after my then 6-year-old son. I may do another installment soon. Little boy asks his single father, Dad, I got a big question for you. And Dad attempts to answer it in the most balanced, honest, empowering way. Eden Sky Wonders Why is the series. Check it out. That is also on Amazon. Keith Anthony Blanchard. Maybe it's under Keith Blanchard. Eden Sky Wonders Why. How do I get to heaven? He asked his dad. So let me, I'm doing my monologue right now before I get into the thick of it. Let's see who's here. Let me do a couple of refresh real quick. I want to see the comments that are coming in on, wow, what's happening? What is this deal, man? Give me 1 sec, please. That is so weird. Well, I won't be able to see your comments tonight unless I look, so forgive me. I like the comments here, just makes it easy. Hello, Katie. Hello, everyone. Heather. YouTube is Dana and Kelly and Rena. And I think Jennifer may be lurking somewhere in the background. Hi, Jennifer, if you are here. Everyone, welcome to Center of Light. So let's get down to the presentation. Before I do that, quickly, I want to grab this link, drop it in these forums. A new social media website created by a friend of mine. It's a spiritual social media site. Check it out. You get 7 days for free. There's a lot of free stuff, so you never have to pay anything. But it's like $14 a month. Whatever, it's whatever it is, it's just some small figure. Check it out, The Mystic Circle. All right, let's get down to some beeswax. Hi, Adana. Pretty girl. So tonight is Center of Light stuff, dimension of the mind. Mind stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there. All that is natural turns within itself, becoming infinitely greater expressions of itself. Or supernatural, that would be God. God is super. Not only is God natural, nature, it's super. It's beyond what we can even begin to fathom. That's pretty freaking super. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you want to see God in the most natural state, the supernatural state, you have to open yourself up to beauty. Hello, Valerie Adams. Good to see you, girl. You have to open yourself up to beauty if you want to see God in its most natural state. In fact, it's the only way you will ever see God on any state, on any plane. You have to open yourself up to beauty. But the mind can never open up enough to take God in, so it requires the heart. The heart is the stargate, it's the cosmic womb, it's the sacred divine fire. You have to tread carefully. Some people can walk over hot coals, others burn their feet. Last night in this dream, lucid experience. I'm reading because I woke up at 2:30 this morning, couldn't go back to sleep, to take down all of this so I can do this presentation tonight. I was in the dimension of mind. Hello, Kim. I was in the dimension of mind. My mind. The mind. Our mind. And there was lots of mind stuff. Stuff. Literally stuff. And believe this or not, from my experience that happened last night, hello, Gail, there are people who actually live in my mind, in your mind, in our mind. And I don't mean that as the cliche term or figurative, well, it's all in your mind. I do mean that. But also I'm saying that there are living beings, leans more to the unconscious side, in your mind. There are people who live in your mind. And I don't mean, again, figuratively. Well, it's just a figment of your imagination. Everything is possible on every realm, everywhere, all the time. God is omnipresent. Even in that unconscious aspect of our minds, God is present. So if God is present, life flourishes. There's no other way. So there are people who actually live in your mind. And so I went to the realm of mind. I could just see stuff everywhere. Stuff, and more stuff. Mind stuff all around. Lighters, socks, knickknacks, stuff everywhere. Boxes. And these people who lived in my mind, which is connected to the collective unconscious mind. We're not speaking about the clear mind, the mind of God. We're speaking about the collective unconscious mind. We all share a fragment of it. In fact, we're all are plugged into it. Depending on how unconscious or conscious you are, will vary in where you find yourself. But I do believe that last night I was conscious of going into the unconscious mind. I was conscious. I knew I was there. I knew I had a body laying on the bed. So much so that I knew that when it was over with, I was going to deliberately wake myself up and take these notes that I'm giving to you now. These people in my mind, these living beings, whether they had a corporeal body somewhere in another dimension, that I don't know, but I know these beings were individual aspects still asleep. I could see stuff everywhere. Lighters, socks, knickknacks, just stuff, boxes. These people were being ruled by that mind. Some call it AI, some call it MK Ultra. I'm not going to get into the conspiracy stuff, which I love. But people were being ruled by that mind, only by their choice to do so. Valerie Adams says, what are you calling people? I don't understand your question. Please re-ask. I was trying, in this whole scenario, I was trying to get to the top floor because I was in an executive building which had stairs, marble, glass, and brass handles, brass railing kind of stairway in this somewhat looking like an executive building. And I was trying to get to the top floor. Top floor in sleep states of consciousness means I'm trying to become conscious to higher realms. Valerie says, so what are you calling this world? So it was like this world. Yes, it was like this world. But Valerie, it was different. It was a little more dreamy in the form of nightmarish. I understand it's cold outside. For us Southerners, that's nightmarish. I get COVID. I get all that stuff. Continuing on. I was trying very hard to get to the top floor. It was an executive type build. Executive? That which makes law? The mind was ruling these people, the law, as I mentioned. Sort of like the lower levels of the matrix. I was trying to get to the top floor. I said that, so the print is very small. Valerie says she's following. Thank you. Now, when I got into this executive building, like you might see downtown, a courthouse or town hall kind of thing, I was told by a woman they were deliberately going to set. This is not a dream. I was not dreaming. I was present. I was hyper-lucid. It doesn't mean it's real. I'm not trying to give you a prophetic statement. I'm just telling you what went on in this mind with these real beings who do exist. This woman, when I got to the top of the stairway, this woman told me they were deliberately going to set off a nuclear bomb. I was told the world mind will only be left. I was told the world will only be left for the elite. And this is not conspiracy taking in all this propaganda. That's not what that is. I'm just relaying to you my experience. I gathered as many people as I could to get them in the vault upstairs, because once I got in, that door was locked behind me. You can't get in. Of course, that's the mind playing with me. And I brought in other people, as many as I could. And the reason I was almost too late getting to the door, to the vault, was because there was one girl left in my line of sight. And I was going to sacrifice. That's how conscious I was. I was going to sacrifice in this experience that was happening. She was so confused by all what was happening. She was blind in the manner of simply not being able to see what was going down. I grabbed her and told her I would never let her go, that I would always take care of her. Now, before all of this that I just shared with you, I was with a race of being in the realm of mind, in the dimension of mind. I call them a race, but I was with others, a species, a group of beings in my mind. From what I remembered when I woke myself up after this was over, so I can write down these notes, they call themselves Farundras, P-H-A-R-U-N-D-R-A-S, Farundras. And they had a motto, and they also had a logo, and their motto was one line, one star. And the logo was their flag, so to speak. One line, one star. Well, that sounds to me that they were all in queue as robots in line. And there was only one star, and it was the elite. I don't know that to be true. I think that some of this symbology had some hope in it. One line. We are one line of people or beings who are trying to do our best, and we want to follow one star. When I was in this planetary station, in this executive building, this is when that woman told me that they intended to set off a nuclear explosion. When I was in this place, I was above the earth. I was in space above the earth. however many miles to where I could see the earth this big from being at this vantage point. The floor was made of glass. When I saw that is when things shortly after started going haywire. Things started getting really, really weird. Mind stuff. Really, really weird. How does this parallel to today? Your level of clarity should tell you where you sit, where you stand. How does it feel to be you? Are you clear? Do you understand? We all fall back, only to realize that we've fallen back. And we step and lunge forward with a greater power and capacity of ourselves to say, I've learned, I've expanded. So that's how we actually grow. Step, 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 step. Mistake. Oops. Ah. Step, 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 step. Mistake. Ah. This is how we expand into divine creatures. But these beings in this realm of mind, they didn't have it so lucky like we do. But you can bet there's a time, a place, and a space that will come back around for them, depending on you, depending on me. Those beings, they exist. This is not a figment of my mind. They exist. Depending on our level of awakening, we open the door and allow them to step to the fore and awaken themselves. How do I know this is true? That these beings exist. My alien human hybrid friend, Nucleus 8, told me many years ago. We have beings that live on our mothership station called mothers. They are so advanced because of their illumination. They can literally look at you, pull you into themselves, into their beingness, or their mind, or their mental capacity-ness, and you will explore another universe. So there are beings that live everywhere, all the time, in every possible level, forever. We can never change this. I saw it, experienced it, played with it, felt it last night. So this presentation tonight is Center of Light stuff. The mind has everything in it, the junk in the trunk. Where do all those missing lighters go? Some realm, but you can definitely find it in your mind. Where do all the missing car keys go? Somewhere, but you will find it in your mind. Where do all the miscellaneous socks or miscellaneous stuff and socks, where do they go? It's in the mind. It's all stored in there. You don't have to lose your mind, so to speak. You can't. The mind in and of itself is pure. But the junk, you can't really, and you don't really want to get rid of it anyway. You just change from it being called junk to wisdom. And then it takes on a new manifestation in and of itself altogether. This thing is junk. You tell that to someone who owns a thrift shop. He say, okay, call it junk all you like. I'll take it off your hands freely. Tonight is Center of Light mind stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the monkey. He wants his banana and he wants it right now. And he's going to peruse through all the stuff in his domain, the mind, to find his satisfaction. Welcome to planet Earth. For what it's worth. What's up, Gene, bro? For what it's worth, there is a whole reality, dimension, universe in your mind. Physical universe, mental universe, emotional universe, causal universe, spiritual God, cosmic universe, and all that is contained within the beautiful self you know as you and what you see when you look in the mirror. It can't be any clearer than that. Are you not your mind? Are you not your body? Are you not? People say, well, Keith, I'm not the body, I'm not my mind. Yes, you are. You are all of that. It takes one to declare, I am not the unconsciousness of all that. Because all of that is actually beautiful. And you want to claim that as your own. And in so doing, you will find the keys and the power and the light sword to wield it correctly and in balance. To keep you upright and balanced. Keep you in the garden. To keep you in the stream consciously. I'm going to take a song break. Going to be right back. I am going to play a video by Shunyamurti, my new favorite teacher. There is a soft, warm glow about this man, as you might see depicted in this room as a prop. He doesn't stammer. He does not stutter. He does not make mistakes. He's moved beyond the mind. He didn't get out of the mind. He didn't get out of the mind like he's trying to escape it. He used the mind as leverage to stand on it as a rock, to exalt him, to lift him up to a higher possibility. Let me tell you what his presentation is called. It's worthy to be announced. It is called Sanity is Sovereignty Over the Matrix of the Mind. Sanity is sovereignty over the matrix of the mind. I am posting these in the forums. It helps my copyright not get a slap on my hiney. I'm going to play a Lavender Soul song of my spiritual band. Again, we have all 3 albums for sale for $20. Gene Caswell says, LOL, this was like a prep talk for what I am walking back into this weekend. Remarkable. Bro, I'm glad you didn't have any resistance in your mind. Let me share with you what resistance is. Someone gives you something powerful. Let me show you how powerful the mind is. Someone says, I'm doing this thing tomorrow night. Would you like to come over? Yes, I've been wanting to do that said thing. Come tomorrow, 2 hours before said event, you send someone a message that says, man, I really wanted to be there, but something showed up. It's the mind. Yeah, but Keith, you don't understand. I got a phone call from... It's your mind. Your mind says, don't screw with me. Leave me just like I am. And I'm going to bring something into your experience to say, you can't go tonight. So now we need to learn the mechanics of the mind and how we can move actually deeper into it to purify the darkness of the mind. You don't necessarily find God through the light, because where the light is, you've already found God. You only find God through the darkness, because you illuminate your way to see what has always been there. The choice is, the idea is, have we always been there? The real we that we are has always been there, but we're trying to remember. We are a member, but we're trying to we're trying to remember the essence of who we are. Lavender Soul, let me see what we got on the Why Not Divine Lover. Bernard came over one day, Bernard Dissect, what a phenomenal singer. And I had these chords and he said, stop. And he started singing me this melody that inspired him, walking in his shorts in December in flip-flops under the canopy of trees. Here's my melody, and it was perfect. Divine Lover, making love, sensual love to your divine mama and papa. Sounds something like this right here.
I will be with you always, until the end of time. You will never be alone. I am. All of my life
I feel you there beside me. All of my lives, all through my days, I've seen places far away. Wondering just when, time and again, I have come to know you. Wondering just when, time and again, you are there beside me. When I create, when I feel love, whenever I feel you with me, I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. Help me know
It is my will that you know me. I will not hide my love from you. You create your reality and every moment by your own perceptions, your judgments, actions. Peace is a state of mind. Bliss is a state of heart. Heaven is a state of being.
deep in my heart, I know you're there. I can always feel you guiding my life to see the light that will lead me to the truth. When I create, when I feel love, whenever I feel you with me, I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. For you are my mother,
My soul.
my divine lover. I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. Help me live.
Welcome back to Center of Light. It's good to see you on this beautiful, cold as night. I'm praying, y'all. I'm praying this stuff goes away. Come Saturday, we should have a little sunshine to it melts all this Arctic, redonkulous mind stuff. Good to see you. We're diving deep into the mind. Don't be scared to go into your mind. People who first begin to learn how to meditate, depending if they come back from a fundamental or dogmatic background, they love the idea of meditation because they see the effect it has on everyone around them. They see the effect that it has on the people who are choosing meditation in a life of spirituality versus what they've always known. And they want it. They're salivating. So their teacher or their friend says, okay, I'll show you how to meditate. Close your eyes. And they do. After about 10 breaths, they feel vulnerable. The devil, darkness, whatever's been taught, they feel vulnerable. Guess what it is? It's the mind. It's all the stuff in the mind that says, one, leave me alone, don't mess with me. So I'm going to send you images of burning in hell for violating the spiritual creed or doctrine. And so the phone rings and says, and you send your friend a text, I can't make it today. I just got a call, so forth. Hello, Robert, my beautiful brother. mind. The mind is the devil, if you will. The mind is the poison, unless it's cleared. Then it becomes the catalyst for God to poison himself, position himself, and you strategically to do everything you need to do to fulfill your mission on this God-given planet with your God-given talents. Wow! Holy cow. That's the power of you. But it's going to require the journey through the wilderness of the mind, to brave the mind mountain, to reach the fountain of youth. You will only find your proof when you return to your innocence. You tainted one, you. Now, since tonight is center of light stuff, the stuff that's in the mind. Lost lighters, lost socks, boxes, cobwebs, things you don't even know are in there. Rust, pennies, coins you've lost, your car keys, relationships you've lost. Boom! You have to you have to descend into hell as your teacher did. Follow me, I am the way. So you have to descend into hell. The mind can be a hell of a thing, can it? So now, speaking of mind, I want to blow your mind with Shunyamurti. What a beautiful man he is. He's going to share with us the mechanics of the mind and how to move beyond it. You can't skirt around it. You can't go across the wall up. You can't go around the side. You have to go through it. And on the other side of that mind is the divine. And there you will find everything you've been looking for. So stop looking and be willing. Don't be looking for something, because when you do finally find it, it will look just like whatever you've been looking at in the mirror up until that point of your life. It looks just like you. So don't try to find it. Go look in the mirror and look at yourself, because that's what it's going to look like. What you need, could choose, is the willingness. Shunyamurti. Wow. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. Thank you.
So the topic is Swarajya. Who knows what Swarajya means?
The total sovereignty.
What does that mean?
The royal power to be in Shiva.
It means self-rule, right? Sovereignty is the right to self-rule. It's not self-rule, okay? Yes, you must have self-sovereignty, but then it must be activated through self-rule. Self-rule requires self-control. Very few people have achieved self-control in their lives, let alone the ability to rule over their lives. Most people's lives are being ruled by their egos. So the question is, are you in self-rule or ego rule? The ego has no right to rule your life. It's an illegitimate pseudo-entity that has no intelligence of its own, and whatever ideas it has have been borrowed from other egos who were clueless and were not in a state of self-rule. So if you're in a state of ego control, then your life is being governed by a very poor decision-making executive power. And it's a very unwise strategy to leave the ego in control of your life, in the same way that you probably wouldn't let a 5-year-old drive your car. Because the ego at best is a 5-year-old. Most of it's a total infant that can't even reach the brake or the gas pedal. But it doesn't know what it's doing, and it doesn't understand reality in a very accurate way, and it cannot resist its impulses. It will do what is not in its own best interests because of the giving in to immediate drives for gratification that will overcome its ability to discern whether it's such a good idea to do that. So it's a very famous cliche that, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Famous last words of those who are being controlled by their egos. But we are trained to be in control of the ego because the system is run by egos. This is the problem we have today. Egos, from a technical viewpoint, even within relativistic reality, egos are insane. And this is the difficulty, why the psychiatric establishment is every few years having to increase the size of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM. They're in, 5 or 6 by now. I don't keep up anymore, but it gets bigger and bigger, more and more mental illnesses. And of course, some of them have been removed because they become so normal, you can no longer consider them to be abnormal, and certain abnormalities have such political power that they can remove themselves from any diagnostic manual. So you can buy your way out of it, or you can get a sufficient amount of subnormal people to force the establishment to accept normality at a lower and lower level. So the bar has gone pretty low. But the problem is that because of that relativism, there really is no credible authority to determine what is a mental illness anymore, because the people determining it are just as mentally ill as the ones they're trying to diagnose. Because the ego itself, we understand, is a mental illness. It's an obsolete mental structure that has not been overcome by maturity, because this society does not provide a rite of passage into true adulthood. And true adulthood in traditional societies was always ego death. That's what it meant, and that's why you would then go on a vision quest. You'd get a new name, either from a guru who had gone beyond the ego, or from God in some vision that you would receive while fasting out in the desert or the jungle or the mountaintop, and be in an altered state of consciousness that hopefully would remain because you were wanting to get possessed by God. And then in that possession, you would know who you are. But if that possession is only temporary, which eventually came to be the case, on certain ceremonial occasions, people would rise to that level or be possessed in drumming ceremonies or other kinds of religious frenzies. But under ordinary conditions, except for a few shamans, there wouldn't be anyone in God consciousness in the whole group. So there became a professional class or let's say, institution that was to be focused on remaining always in God consciousness. But then they became corrupted. As we know, how many people would really go to your neighborhood minister or rabbi or lama or mullah to find someone in God consciousness that would help you recalibrate? Most people would actually make sure their kid was protected by those people these days, from those people, not by them. So the situation has become unfixable within the constructs of the society today. In the same way that in politics, you may want to drain the swamp of corruption, but can you do that if you yourself are corrupt? Or can you offer change you can believe in if you yourself have not changed from that old paradigm? And the paradigm is to lie, and the dumbed down people in ego consciousness are supposed to pretend to believe the lies. And then the system can continue, or they do believe the lies. But you can't end corruption. That's what every politician who tries to run a country uses as their campaign slogan in one way or another, and they all turn out to be even more corrupt than the last ones. Or they're shot, and eliminated in some other way, or impeached, or but they're not allowed to end the rule of the corrupt ego. It's too strong. So we have a system then that is sick. Therefore, it's not wise to be well adapted to that system, because it means if you want to fit in, you've got to be just as sick and mentally ill as they are, or else you're going to be miserable your whole life. So then the question is, do you have the authorization to go your own way in life? If you are in a state of swarajya, that means you can think for yourself. You're not a member of the herd. But you can't just leave the herd by physically going off on another direction. Then you become a stray. You don't become a leader of something new at a higher level of sanity. So this is the problem. You can't just decide on an ego level that I don't like the system, I'm out of here, because you'll end up in something worse or doing something worse. But if you can get to a place of swarajya, where you can think your way out of the paper bags that have been put all over your consciousness, then you will be able to think for yourself, literally, probably for the first time, because you can think from yourself with a capital S. And then you can make decisions like every adult should be able to make, but no one reaches real adulthood. They reach biological adulthood of the body, but they don't reach adulthood psychologically anymore. In effect, that's not allowed by the society. This is not meant to be a society of adults anymore out there. This one is. Yes, and that's why we with very great temerity face the prospect of one day inviting children here. It's hard enough to raise the inner child, but we better have a lot of raised inner children before we invite a lot of outer children here, because who's going to raise who? So we'll end up with an intolerable chaos. But we don't have societies that anymore have adults who can then raise people who didn't become successfully adults through the childhood system of raising, because there is none. There's no finishing school any longer. There isn't even a starting school anymore. So the situation is very difficult to achieve swarajya, and yet everyone is told you should be autonomous, you should think for yourself, don't listen to other people. And in general, it's right. Why listen to somebody else when they're probably as mentally ill as you are? So, and if you're mentally ill, can you really adequately discern someone who's not? So that's why you can get trapped in a situation where you're following advice of people you think are wise, but they turn out not to be, or they turn out to be in part so, but not in other parts. So it becomes essential that you are able to think for yourself. And then the question is, how do you get there? How do you do it? How do you gain the capacity for authentic discernment so that you make accurate decisions? And you can only do that if you have transcended the tendencies to self-distort your perceptions and to accept distorted ideas and disinformation from external sources. Does it make sense so far? So a lot of people do this, make this choice based on tradition, but the traditions no longer function. It used to be that, yes, you could follow traditional patterns of dharma or of behavior, and they would work. They would be sufficient to enable you to lead your life. And there were two essential life forms that were encouraged. hedonism and asceticism, and for a lot of people, that's it. It's between one of the two, or you alternate between them. After you've had your binge and your hangover, then you fast or go on a fruit diet for a while or do something else, and then you binge again, and you yo-yo back and forth. Or some people are very strict, in one way or another. Strict in hedonism, you can be strict in that way too, and never turn down a feast and a joint or whatever it is that's one's pleasure. And then there is this other group created by a philosopher called Epicurus. And I know that Epicurus has become like a dirty word in some religions. I know among the Ashkenazi Jews, they pronounce it apokoiros. The worst thing you can be called is an apokoiros, actually, right? In traditional shtetls among the Hasidim or the very Orthodox Jews. Why? Epicurus was a very interesting philosopher in ancient Greece, and he said you should live totally according to pleasure. Okay, so you'd think he was in the hedonist category. He should say you should only do what brings maximum pleasure. But then in the fine print he added, however, you will soon discover that many pleasures lead to pain. And a pleasure that leads to pain is not truly a pleasure. The pain is what you will be left with. So that when you actually begin to refine your taste for pleasure, and you want a pleasure that never ends and that can't be topped by anything, it turns out that it's the state of samadhi, in deep meditation where you transcend ego mind entirely, and you're in this absolutely blissful state and you don't want anything. So Epicurus said, if you really observe the results of experimenting with lower forms of pleasure, you'll discover they're not really pleasurable, right? He discovered jouissance long before the term was invented. And he recognized that the only pleasures really were the pleasures of meditation. And so he lived a very meditative and austere life. One would think his life was ascetic. If you read him, you'd think he was hedonist. But actually, he was a man who could think for himself. And so he empirically rediscovered the wheel of Dharma, and that the only way to live without suffering was to live actually a yogic life. Now, so then why are the Orthodox Jews going to be so unhappy with this guy? Because, he made the right decisions in the same way you think that they would have made. And their objection was this: he did it out of his own choice. He didn't do it as a mitzvah, you see. He didn't do it because God commanded him to live that way. He did it on his own, and therefore he could change his mind. And if he changed his mind, then he would again be a demon. That's the way they would argue it in a Talmudic yeshiva in Eastern Europe. But the point is that the only way today that you can actually come to a way of life is one that you work out for yourself. Not one that I'm trying to convince you of, because I'm really not. I want everyone to experiment. But what I say is take it to the edge. Don't take it to some irrevocable situation where you may get into some kind of a danger or a commitment or a process that you can't back out of, you see. So if you take it too far and get some disease or pregnancy or something else, your experiments with jouissance can lead to some very dangerous and unhappy results. But I think that you can't just whip the horse into giving up its desire for water. And you have to convince it that there are better forms of water out there than scotch or gin or whatever else they were drinking, on an ego level. So this becomes, I think, the only way that one can proceed. But if you're living in a community, those kinds of experiments also have to be very well regulated in accord with a paradigm of at least someone who's not falling apart or crashing, or at least as close enough into a state of swarajya that you can be guided into knowing when to stop or to change direction or course correct or in some way deal more intelligently with those impulses. But if you try to go cold turkey with a lot of things, it isn't going to work because you don't have self-control. So therefore, the highest and most urgent need is to gain self-control through gaining the wisdom and the disidentification from the ego so that you don't have to deal with the resistances of an unhappy infant who wants mommy's milk, you know, in some form that has become poison. So this is, I think, why having a mentor, a guru, or a community of dharma as a superstructure during that period in which you are learning to gain self-control and the wisdom of self-rule and self-sovereignty, and you do it through the realization that the only sanity is God consciousness. Okay? In the relative world, there is no longer any criterion for deciding what is sane and what is insane, because we have a society that itself is insane and antisocial and psychopathic. So what God consciousness must mean is that state of sanity that knows how to make accurate, wise decisions. That can be objectively determined to be such, and that enable then trust and growth and maturation and discernment to increase in a community that is in that kind of an energy field and a frequency, so that people learn to think for themselves and then don't require the superstructure any longer. And everything in terms of God consciousness has been internalized as self-realization.
Welcome to Center of Light. I love being me. I hope you love being you. Opportunity to look, to see. Being lightning in the illusion. Grounding, opening. Join me in this forever endeavor of becoming the infinite potential itself. The Bible, Peter being the rock. The storm can bitch. Being in center. There is no storm. Convincing, but it is drama. Roller coaster and amusement park, it's fun. That's why you get on it, but it scares you shitless. You, the person strapped in the car, knows that you're just on a ride. Likewise, what's happening all around you? It's just a ride. Sometimes lightning strikes in the family. Sometimes lightning strikes in the world. I'm just like you. No different. Redirecting. Everything around us begins to change simply by our way of being. Christ, Buddha, Krishna, your great-grandmother, icon. My brother or sister said something yesterday that truly moved me. And because of what they said, they sparked an entire movement. Listen to what I'm telling. John Doe or Jill Doe, they spilled their heart guts. Unity with an idea that is greater and higher. Bring the lightning to earth. We understand higher perception. Things do come along, knock us off of our center. And I recognize that I am off center. What am I going to do from that point? Am I going to continue to freak out? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm cognizant, intelligent, grounded. Compose yourself. The best ploy. Yes, it caught me off guard. You didn't see it coming. You don't have to see what's coming. You are the calm in the storm, no matter how much the storm wants to be. Like Peter, you become the rock. You become the lightning. Thank you for joining me tonight, Center of Light. Center of Light stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there. Lots of stuff. Doctrination. You better not. You should, you shouldn't. Possible, impossible. Holy, blasphemous, right, wrong, in, out, up, down, hot, cold. All about. I'm going to confess, I have to rehome my beautiful little cat. My heart hurts. I live in this chair. I have to do this thing. Why? I don't know. And she wants my attention. She deserves attention, period. And because I'm wanting, working, efforting, willing to get out of my mind, I could keep her. It's not fair to her. It sucks to me. But have someone interested, a couple with some other fur babies, that's where she belongs. I don't like me how I feel right. I love me, but I don't necessarily like how I feel right now about said situation. Center of Light. Stuff. What gives me solace is I was supposed to intervene to be the catalyst to this point, only to find the love that exists beyond this point that I have for her to make the greatest point of all is that I have to release her. It truly weighs on my heart, crushes my mind. I don't like it, but I have to. Center of Light tonight is dimension of the mind. Lots of stuff. Get in there. Make sense of the nonsensical, but don't fight to make sense. Find your simple, innocent self in the confusion, and when you do, the storm can bitch all it wants. And in such a level of divine fusion, you will get everything you consciously want. The next presentation, I think I'm going to do tomorrow night. What else can I do? It's frozen cold. My friend Keith Hill from England, somewhere in the UK, suggested that I return to the cave of Samadhi. And so if anybody has any suggestions of a subject, and I don't mean just a general subject like anxiety or depression, and those are all sacred and very important. I'm talking about for the advanced players who want to get into the cave of Samadhi and just get in there naked and vulnerable. You can put it in this forum or send me an inbox. Keith, what about the subject of I will do whatever inner research as well as some outer research to gather what I need to get naked in the fire of the cave of Samadhi. I like the cave. I'm so glad that Keith mentioned it. I didn't realize that I miss it as much as I do because until he mentioned it. So the cave of Samadhi, what is it? It's not just a teaching. It's just not just a blessing, a lesson. It's a blessing, at least for me. Because when I go into the cave, I don't just try to be proper, so to speak, and just be in this way, in this garb, in this platform. I lose all sight of this, and I really go into the fire. Join me in the fire. It's where we will all acquire that which is higher. It's in the funeral pyre. You sexy human being, your love beyond measure.